Bro, imagine SIMA 2 plus these things. We can walk in any VR environment in a tiny little cage. So convenient, but so unhuman. So this is how frontier AI models actually visualize time, and each minute is regenerated. So you can see 3.5 here, kind of seems like it knows what a clock is. 4.0 definitely gets better. 5, yeah, I mean, it's not saying 11, 12 very accurately, but it's closer than a lot of them. DeepSeek, it's got some issues over there with time, and oh my god, Quen. Gemini is looking like potential. You might want to just remove the numbers altogether, though, just floating over here on the sides. Grok, what do you got going on there? Close, gotta get to that center point. Quen, dude, you look like a radar. Let's see the refresh. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, GPT-5 got worse. Look at Quen 2.5. What kind of time is that? We're going to look at some predictions for the next 20 years of robotics, see what we think about those. You might get judged for your Animal Crossing, Tamagotchi, Neopet, Pokemon neglect. Tom Phillips believes that a lot of us are just believing AGI as more of a supernatural thing, and it's actually getting in the way of real engineering, and that belief is just too unfounded. It's religious stuff, not engineering stuff. 180,000 tech workers lost their jobs this year, but guess what? Oxford Research is calling BS on the AI claim. Rachel Greenberg got 2 artificial intelligence agents to fight with each other, and the biggest shocker was the difference in how they argued. If you don't try this AI experiment personally, you're flying blind to the future. Obviously, we're going to talk about SIMA 2, an agent that plays, reasons, and learns with you in virtual 3D worlds. We're going to look at some new research into how people can actually hand things to robots. I know, almost seems like you don't need research for this, but like how slowly they walk up to people, how they engage, that actually matters. And that is going to make the experience of living with robots on our sidewalks and drones in our skies very different if we don't figure this out. So data like this helps. Neuroscientists are probing the boundary between sleep and awareness, and they're finding all sorts of interesting states. They're called liminal states. And in those liminal states, it looks like there's some answers to a whole bunch of sleep disorders. It's important because we should all be getting as good of sleep as possible, and also it gives us hints into why architectures work and don't work in artificial intelligence. And you know what? Tired couples tend to get more divorces, and that's bad news for AI relationships. They are on the rise, and the divorce boom could be next. Secret chatbot flings are creating new legal challenges for married couples. Fact. Although I don't know what's up with the photo Wired chose. Is this guy getting caught cheating according to that kiss she's going for? I don't get it. I mean, if they would have added a pointing finger, maybe, but I think that photo needs work. Synthetic songs really are getting pretty great, and they are climbing the charts. We're going to make some predictions about how long it will be till most of the music you listen to is not real, and we'll see what's been happening in the last few weeks. And as you can see, one of the major streaming apps gets 50,000 AI-generated songs uploaded every single day. That's 34% of all the music submitted.
Walk my walk, ain't selling my soul for a seat at your table. I'm rough, I'm raw, I'm wild, I'm able. You can hate my fire, but you can't kill my spark. I'm a midnight flame burning through the dark. So
all right, and I have to tell you about this thing that I just discovered. There's probably a good chance I'm the last one in the room to know about this, and you already do, but have you ever heard of Ultima Online? It's an online fantasy game that comes all the way from the 1980s. According to Technology Review, it's like the oldest corner of the online world, the online role-playing game. It has already endured a quarter century of market competition, economic turmoil, and political strife. We will talk about it. I mean, like, look, who are all these people? They're gathering in 2002 for a Christmas party with a magic fire spell? Bro, you made the game. And it's still around. But first, can you go hit that hype button for me? If you are on the YouTube app on your phone, it would mean the world to me if you swipe right on the comments and hit the hype button. It is a button not everybody knows about. It helps small channels like mine. You only get 3 per week. The video has to be posted in the last 7 days. But for a smaller channel like mine that's trying to get to 100,000 subs, I would love the points. And I could use them to spread this content to more people, but I will say it'll be hard to top last video. Check that out, 100 and almost 70 1,000 hype points. That is the most hypes I have ever got. This video also got way more views than I usually get. So thanks for helping me like stand out in the sea of just content creators out there trying to get their ideas and their platforms off the ground. So Japanese researchers have created a new way to infinitely move in VR. This kind of reminds me of that Disney, what do you call that? Is it a platform? That Disney floor that had the rolling wheels that allowed you to walk in any direction. But this to me seems like something where you could take it into one of these simulated environments, have an avatar that is reacting to its own virtual, like, okay, so virtual and virtual and virtual, right? I'm talking about an NVIDIA server that has a physics engine, that has a humanoid character in it, like an Optimus, that's walking, and it is reacting to what would be a virtualized virtual VR headset on the character. It could learn how to move these things in the right way to make it so that the character doesn't fall down, stays upright, and then it could actually move those things in real life. You know, maybe a room in your house you dedicate to this, like part of your garage or something, and you buy, I don't know, 12 of these little platforms, and they just sync up in the future. This might totally be tech that we have. Okay, but if I imagine really running in a video game, jumping, maneuvering, the amount of speed it would take a system like this to land under me, it is hard to fathom. But I'm not going to rule it out. It's just that the amount of platforms and the speed they would have to be at seems pretty dangerous if you fall. But I will say it does seem like Disney's onto a better idea with the hollow tiles. You can see as Marquez Brown walks, it just pulls him back to the center at all times. So this maybe would be a little bit better. Gosh, maybe all floors would be like this. And you could just stand in your kitchen and then zip to your bathroom. It would just like move you around, I guess. And all objects in your house. Oh, then you could probably live in a tiny little house and the one room that you're in just has this floor. So your table slides out of the way and then your bed comes into it and then your bed goes out of the way and your toilet slides into place or something. I mean, I don't know how all that would work, but the idea that you could just, like, everything in your house could zip around on those things is interesting. All right, not too sure how much more from the preview I need to show you about this, but it's interesting to see the way that the different frontier models actually visualize time. This is clocks.brainmore.com. And every minute it just updates and refreshes. But yeah, it's funny. Like GPT-5 actually looked good in the preview, but now it's doing terrible. And 4.0 looks better. Okay, we got to refresh in 3, 2, 1. Oh, GPT-5. You don't know anything about time anymore. Sometimes you do, but most times you don't. Let's go see if Quen got it right. Nope, definitely not. Didn't even put the border around anything. Gosh, nothing looks less like time than the Quen 2.5 model. Kimmy K2 though, that's looking like a real clock. Oh my gosh, you got the numbers in the right place. The time ticking, is that exactly 34 seconds in? At 11:40? I mean, you didn't quite get it, but wow. That's something. Gemini's looking pretty solid. No, what am I talking about? Those numbers don't even fit. DeepSeek's doing better. All right, so I'd say DeepSeek and Kimmy too. I feel like the Chinese models know time a lot better than the American models, except, you know, Quen. Quen's a joke. Grok, oh man, you're not doing any favors either. GPT 4.0, bless your heart. You think that's how seconds work on a clock? No. And if you're curious, that's the exact prompt. Create an HTML, CSS of an analog clock showing the current time, include the numbers, and have an animated second hand. Every minute a new clock is displayed. Each model is allowed 2,000 tokens to generate its clock. All right, so before it gets too late and our second hand gets to 93, let's move on. All right, so let's hop on over to X. So we have supposedly an expert, right? This guy, Nandmaj, worked for Tesla, built the Optimus robot, worked on the Dyna robots, and is now introducing Android Dreams. This is an essay. This is his prediction for the next 20 years of robotics. And he predicts that EGI, I've never heard of this before, but it's Embodied General Intelligence, makes sense, by 2031. And the tipping point for when there's more robots on Earth than humans, and remember, there is 7 billion people on Earth. No, wait, 9 billion? How many people are on Earth? Well, Gemini says there's 8.2 billion people. So he's saying there'll be more robots than people in 2045. Let's check out how this breaks down. My. All right, the next 20 years of robotics. Let's go. So 2027, it's going to come quick. 500,000 robots, and they perform at 70% of human capability. By 2035, we enter the general intelligence era. There's 100 million robots on Earth, and they perform all of them 1.1x human capability. Wow, so 2035, assuming I'm still alive, I should be on a planet with 100 million robots, and they're all a little bit smarter than me. And most of those robots are in China, but the US has a lot too. He puts the unrest meter at plus 16. UBI is 20K. Is that universal basic income? Okay, so we all get 20K just to exist. The robots are making so much money. Interesting. So then we go even further, 2045. So if you expect to be alive in 2045, from his predictions, we will live in a world where there are 10 billion robots, more than the humans we have today. I'm not sure if he's calculating how many humans go, but probably about 10 billion humans, 10 billion robots, or even humans less than what we have now. And they're 1.5 times human capability. The average person gets $250,000 worth of universal basic income. And there you go. See, this commenter, Phil Shaw, says, when China already out-manufactures the U.S. on EVs, despite starting later, I find your claim that the U.S. will out-manufacture China preposterous. Yeah, I didn't think he said that in there, did he? But yeah, that does, it seems unlikely. I mean, like, the U.S. has a ton of money, and we got a lot of really amazing people working on it, but China just seems like they're just hungrier, or they're kind of on a better organizational path, and they certainly have a lot more people contributing. So yeah, I think it's going to be hard for the US to keep up. But then again, manufacturing can be done with robots, but China's pretty good at making those too. So I have to see how that all plays out. Hopefully we don't need to think about it as a race condition, and we can all just have robots for the good of all humans. I just want to share this kind of funny comic with you. This guy dies, he's trying to get into heaven. It says, you lived a perfect life, Rob. I just need to check your virtual life. And it's like all downhill from there. Total neglect of your Tamagotchi, your Neopet, your Pokemon, and your Animal Crossing village. This is not looking good. Threw a baby penguin off a cliff, terrorized San Andreas, bought a JoJo Mart membership. I don't even get that one. What does it mean to buy a JoJo Mart membership? Might be a video game term of some kind. It comes from the video game Stardew Valley. Buying a JoJo Mart membership is one of the major choice paths in the game, and it has a significant impact on your gameplay in the town of Pelican Town, where you have to support the local community in the other path. It's good, but it's more work. Or it's evil, but it's faster. Got it. He dares not even utter the atrocities that this man committed against the Sims. I'm not sure he's getting into virtual heaven. What if it's a holographic universe? This stuff might matter. Next up, I want to take Tom Phillips' ideas to heart. Okay, I do worry and think a lot about ASI and AGI, and some people think my head's in the clouds, and this seems to be one of those people. So I'm going to try to see it from the other point of view. Because Tom is arguing that AGI is a fantasy and it's a blocker to actual engineering. So maybe I should get my heads out of the cloud and think. So after reading Empire of AI by Karen Howe, he was struck by how people associated with OpenAI believe in AGI. They really do think that someone, perhaps them, will build it, and that will either lead to the flourishing or destruction of humanity. In the early days of OpenAI, Elon Musk would say that Demis Hassabis was this supervillain that needs to be stopped. I mean, not that I've met him in real life, but he's actually person I trust more than most of these other people. And he points out some places and times where people have got pretty like mystical about this whole AGI thing. I mean, you guys know since pretty much the beginning of this channel, I'm constantly referencing Alan's conservative countdown to AGI, sitting tightly at 95% right now. And he would argue that things like this are just distracting engineers and companies away from the real effective engineering, especially when that hype encourages chasing massive scale. So this is something that I have to realize that Google and DeepMind and AI people over at Meta and OpenAI and Microsoft really want me to believe. It's what they want me to say to my audience, because data, compute, and infrastructure is expensive and they need to justify these costs and believe that it's working towards something. And guess what? Some of those beliefs are unfalsifiable. That means that they're not really science. And in particular, the article points out that the belief in AGI drives enormous environmental and social costs, data centers consuming huge amounts of water that actually could go to people, energy that could go to people, exploitative data labor, all of the outsourcing that goes to the very poorest parts of the world to train these systems. And it leads to a neglect of more modest, targeted, and efficient solutions like smaller purpose-built models, which could solve the real problems today and be less risky for getting out of control. What can I say, man, except he's probably right. I mean, it's possible he's right. I don't know deep down why I feel like humanity is sort of poking at some sort of a thing that we shouldn't, and that this race condition and all this money is getting out of hand, and it's going to mean something where we're just not the dominant species on the planet anymore. And I've got pretty comfortable knowing that for the most part we're safe when we go to bed each night, and that there isn't higher intelligence systems out there that can think through society like a knife through butter and do whatever it wants. But it would be so nice to slow down, or not exactly stop AI or progress, but to break it into narrow domains instead of just chasing general intelligence right away. I know that general intelligence means generally solving every problem, so why would you build specific models like AlphaFold just for, folding proteins and things? But if all we do is build those single kind of narrow focus systems, and they sort of stay contained in their sandbox, and they have a goal, and they do superhuman things, but they're not generally intelligent and connected to all of our life, it does feel safer. And then we can slowly put the pieces maybe together in a way like where you're putting the puzzle in piece by piece, and you can see what it is and see if you want to build it to its completion slowly and have a bit more control over it. But we're probably not doing that. It doesn't look like anyone's really going to live in a world where that happens. It's just the race condition to AGI. But the piece does highlight how the belief in AGI itself becomes a blocker. So if I didn't believe that was possible, and that wasn't a goal that we should even work towards, that would help us get specific real world problems solved today. And yeah, it's an article worth thinking about. Just because it's a bit counter to what I usually preach, believe, and share. Let me know your thoughts if you guys have a second to read Tom Phillips' blog. It's tomwphillips.co.uk. And then share your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll check them out. Especially if you use the word hype in your comment, I'm more likely to find it, because I'm trying to promote the hype button, which is the most important button on YouTube. All right, let's stop blaming AI for the layoffs. The real reason, sounds like it might piss us off. Jari Matler points out that 180,000 tech workers lost their job. Companies say it's AI, but Oxford research says something different. So what is it then? MIT study revealed 95% of companies investing in AI are getting exactly 0 return on the investment right now. Maybe AI is just, would this surprise you? A scapegoat. AI to cover up old-fashioned cost cutting. I think about how Elon Musk with XAI and OpenAI look at a big company like Microsoft, and they see the suite of services that they provide, Word and Excel and all these things, and they think, okay, let's start, skating to where the puck's going to be, and we'll build an AI system, a general intelligence system that can code, and then it will code up all of those things. and then we can undercut them. And then I see a company like Microsoft seeing the same thing, saying, uh-oh, I better start letting go of a bunch of employees to get there. Because we already have the users, and now we're going to be able to use these AI tools in the future, but it's so blurry. You can't really just cut everybody at Microsoft. That's still where the customers are. That's still where the money goes in. But all this technology is built by somebody, and it doesn't seem like you would want to cut everyone off right now. So why are there so many people getting fired from tech? He argues that it's just companies admitting, making adjustments for the fact that they overhired during the COVID era boom. What do you think? Does that resonate with you? And now they're desperately trimming excess headcounts under the guise of AI transformations. They're using it as a scapegoat. So did they make a flawed business decision, like kind of in mass on aggregate during the COVID era boom, and now we're just seeing the natural correction? And if so, that kind of matters. So workers can't safely assume their jobs are being lost because of machines. Rather, it suggests that just business cycles, forecasting errors, and corporate PR narratives are at play. I got an experiment we can all do together. What happens when you make two AI agents fight with each other, and then you analyze what's in the differences in how they argue? Rachel Greenberg argues that if you don't try this AI experiment, you're flying blind. So let's see what she learned. And in a nutshell, without getting into the specifics of which models did what, is that the real value in understanding large language models, using AI, different agents that are out there acting on behalf of you, solving problems for you, is in understanding the style and logic of the AI is individual, just like different people are. So, you know, you might say, oh, we can just hire somebody to do this role. But if you don't hire correctly, and what you should be looking for when you hire somebody is the nuances, the way that they think, the way that they act, their EQ, their social IQ, along with their ability to complete the task. And there's something kind of like that in the models, like Claude and the different versions of it, OpenAI and the different versions of it. They think different, they talk different, they argue in distinct ways. And that suggests that, you know, that's why we're kind of growing new life forms, but it can produce very different outcomes. So we need to start playing with these tools, not just seeing what the benchmarks are, but actually asking ourselves, what kind of people are they? I mean, I guess I know it's anthropomorphizing, but yeah, what kind of people are they? What kind of brains are they? We're not just replacing human tasks with machines. We're integrating decision partners whose thinking style may not match ours. So be aware of what kind of brain you're putting to work as it becomes crucial in solving the task that you're hoping to solve. This part really stood out to me. When something or someone speaks with conviction, our brains naturally assign it authority. We equate confidence with competence. And that's why charismatic founders can raise millions of dollars for bad ideas, and why a bold statement on social media can travel faster than a well-sourced truth. And if you were hoping that these AI models were going to solve that, you are wrong. AI isn't immune to that effect. In fact, it amplifies it. A confident chatbot can feel more trustworthy even when it's flat out wrong. All right, breaking news. You thought Genie was cool. SIMA 2 is out now. Google's DeepMind always pushing these full world models out, and it's fascinating stuff. SIMA 2 is the next generation embodied AI agent. It is built on the Gemini model, and it can navigate, reason, and learn in richly interactive 3D game environments rather than simply following instructions. So this SIMA thing seems like a pretty wild agent. I mean, it's out there executing tasks, it's understanding high-level goals. Supposedly it's reflecting on its own steps. It's conversating with the human user as you can talk with it and say, go over there and explore that, or what do you think that means? It's kind of improving through its own self-directed play along with human feedback. It's showing strong generalization. It is handling games and worlds it was never trained on. So it is generalizing to a lot of different environments. And guess what one of them is? The one me and you are in, the IRL, the real world. If it's, I mean, real, like sometimes I wonder what this all is, but you know what I mean. This actual physical world where we are. It can simulate that and then be here, or it can potentially be in a robot and live in this actual environment and probably generalize here too. So this is a big step towards embodied AI systems, or EGI, as I just learned today, embodied general intelligence. But the thing that's just a little bit different, no, actually a lot of bit different and kind of freaky about SIMA 2 is that it's getting good at doing something that we really don't see too much of, which is learning to learn. It can self-improve, transfer concepts across different video game worlds. This is kind of where we start touching on AIs that can, access their own code and improve their own architecture. It's just in the video game environment, learning to learn is everything. Like you're playing the game just like a person. That's what we do when we play games. We learn to learn. And we operate in entirely new environments, and that's what makes us so versatile. So we're now watching a system do that, and that matters to all of us because it signals a shift from narrow AI, which solves only one defined task, towards a more general purpose agent that can adapt, reason, and even collaborate in novel situations. So for everyday life, this means we are inching closer to AI systems that could assist in unpredictable or novel real-world tasks, not just pre-programmed ones. There will be robot helpers, some kind of Optimus humanoid robot in your future, and it's going to feel so human because it will have some system like this where it's just solving problems the same way you are in probably a similar form factor in a similar environment. Facts. By the way, side note, I just saw that video with Wes and a mod came up. So it's posted on all of our channels as collaborators, but Wes Roth put up the original one. But this is such an interesting interview. No one is prepared for the next 1,000 days. Our crucial Ahmad Mostak, creator of Stable Diffusion, really interesting, well-connected guy. All right, so that leads us nicely into this next article. How can people hand over packages comfortably to a delivery robot? I don't know why. It almost seemed like kind of a dumb thing to study, but then after reading it, I was like, oh, yeah, well, somebody does need to do this research. This is interesting stuff. All right, so you've probably seen in all sorts of different movies where two characters meet each other, sometimes like a dangerous one and a weaker one or something, and you're animals, and they look at each other and they sort of size each other up for danger. They sort of sometimes lower their head, they move slowly. These are all these instinctive biological things to show that when you're approaching, you're not doing it with the intent to harm, that somebody can trust you. And robots need to learn this. Like, they can't just zip up on us, right? We're going to stress out because we're humans and we expect things that move that way to be very dangerous. So this study finds that people are more comfortable when a robot approaches closely, especially if the package is heavy. So we can make an assumption if there's this humanoid robot coming to deliver something and it's heavy, they can approach close. And then if the robot stays further away, people report more discomfort. So they're actually a little weird about it because if you stay far away for too long, it looks like you're being monitored by someone, but they're not there for a reason. So they've found that the robots, once they look at you, they should start to approach, which kind of surprised me, but it does make sense. And interestingly, regardless of whether someone is familiar with robots or not, the comfort levels are similar. So this shows that it's more of like a baked in kind of human thing. And when robots do come close, people often slowed down or hesitated in the way that they interacted, in their walking or the way that they're moving. So we have a natural instinct to like move slower also and say, hey, like I'm also giving you trust and peace. So please bring me that package and we'll just have a nice little package exchange here and nobody, needs to get hurt or whatever. But yeah, close approaching robots actually look more like a helpful partner, especially when they're carrying a heavy load. So that was the finding of the study. And in the future, their acceptance into our society is going to depend way less on the capability. Delivering the package kind of matters, but actually how we feel interacting with them will probably be the key driver, or whether or not that we get to that 8 billion, or was it 10 billion in 2045 that we saw at the beginning of this video. If a delivery robot moves in a way that feels inviting and supportive rather than distant and mechanical, we're more likely to welcome them into our daily lives and our homes. So with AI relationships on the rise, you might be thinking about the business or the future of AI divorces. I mean, in theory, you could just turn the app off and not get married in the first place, but sometimes relationships get pretty deep, and AI companions are quietly reshaping modern relationships. And maybe people want to, commit to those relationships in the legal system and, get actually married. So divorce attorneys are already seeing marriages falling apart because one partner forms an emotional or romantic bond with a chatbot. What do you think? Is that cheating? Like, would you be really upset if your partner was spending like a lot of time or even a little bit of time or spending more time than with you? Or would you just consider that like reading those romance novels or watching movies and you're kind of like, that's not me, but also I get it, that's you? Doing normal stuff, just existing. You know what I mean? Sometimes maybe they're spending real money or sharing private information in the process. Would that change it for you? As these AI relationships become more common, courts are beginning to treat them like real affairs. They're setting precedent where, being with a chatbot is an affair. And some states are even considering AI to be what they call a third party, which would be the same as the person that you're cheating on in a divorce case. So right now the laws vary widely across the US, from California's hands-off, no-fault approach to Ohio's attempt to legally block any recognition of AI human intimacy. Do you think this is going to be like the gay rights movement again, where the countries are split and there's political things and like some people want to be able to date AIs and some people don't, and all of that? I mean, divorces, legal systems. Could you get married to the AI once, if you do break up with, if it's a third party and you can break up with it's technically cheating to have this third party interaction, then should you also be under the legally able to marry the third party, which would mean marrying an AI? I don't know. Law experts, divorce rates are all dealing with this. Like the article says, as AI companions grow more empathetic and realistic, echoing past spikes in divorces triggered by social media, lawyers expect divorce rates to rise. But yeah, emotional attachment to an AI it's no longer a fringe behavior, or at least it's becoming more mainstream every week, I feel like. It's reshaping the definition of cheating. It's forcing courts to decide what counts as a relationship. And that matters for everybody because it shows how technology is now blending into our most intimate spaces, not just our jobs or our hobbies. The boundaries we once took for granted, what counts as trust, connection, or betrayal, is now being rewritten by software that we built, that we grew. So I don't know if you've been listening to much music created by AI recently, but 3 songs created entirely by AI have recently hit major chart-topping spots, viral 50 list in the US and globally, and appearing on the Billboard Country Digital Song Sales charts. A new study shows an estimated 50,000 AI-generated tracks are uploaded daily. That accounts for about 34% of the submissions, and 97% of listeners couldn't reliably tell AI music from the human-made kind. What are your thoughts? The article's noting how distributed these tools are. I used to end a lot of my videos with one of your comments, turning it into a song using Suno. Udio is another tool like that. 11 Labs is adding those tools. And some of those songs are they're worth listening to, in my opinion. Like, I get the same emotional ups and downs. I feel like the songs are similar to what I see coming out of especially mainstream music. Of course, I do like knowing that it's a person and that there's like a concert I could see and that the actual person has nuance and stories to their lives. So I don't find it as good, but I have to take all of those things into account when it really just comes down to some song that's on in the background while I'm at a coffee shop. I think AI does it just as well. All right, so this is another one of the songs, Living on Borrowed Time, that was in there.
We're all just living. This world spins fast and time ain't free.
Dude, we're all just living, even though it's an AI-generated song. But, I mean, it still makes me feel that way. I couldn't play it here, but there's also another song that went viral that was sort of an anti-immigration song. It was in Dutch, I guess. But that also was weird. Like, is music a way to slip through, like, the truth barrier? Like, misinformation seems like through song it can be delivered. in an unexpected way. And I'm worried AI is going to use that against us. So lots to think about with the rise of AI music. And I couldn't end the video without talking about this crazy little side quest I found. It is called Ultima Online. I haven't actually played the game, but I went to YouTube and watched some videos. It is one of the earliest and longest running virtual worlds in history. I'm pretty sure most of you do know about it, but I didn't, and maybe not all of you do, but it became a living test bed for everything that we talk about now. They were way ahead of the whole metaverse, and it was designed to simulate a full society rather than just a game. It gave players freedom to build homes, form governments, and shape the world in unpredictable ways. And the freedom did result in a bunch of chaos in some cases. There was an ecological collapse at one point. There was a rampant player killing spree that went on. There was economic inflation at one point. There were political protests. And it forced the creators to learn the hardest realities of government in a digital nation. And I wish everybody who actually was a politician studied this game, because it feels like Ultima Online is a thing we can just learn from. It's a history book that's going to help dictate the future. I mean, they say, the future doesn't always repeat, but it rhymes. And I feel like this is people behind their computers living in a digital nation, and there's so much that could be learned from the people who understand the higher level history of Ultima Online. And even though the graphics aren't just top notch, it's not like GTA 6, it's not super trendy with PewDiePie every week, Ultima Online seems to endure because these players, they're forming these deep identities, these relationships, these memories. And it's proof that virtual worlds thrive not on graphics, but on the connection people build inside of them. Please support this channel by hitting the hype button on the YouTube app right now. I'll see you in the next video.